Well, a hearty good evening to everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, December 10th, and we're very, very pleased to have everybody here. We start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Intamin.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Thank you. In the city of Sioux Falls, we start every City Council meeting with an invocation, with a prayer, with a blessing. And tonight we've got Care Pastor Mike Peterson of Celebrate Church, one of the largest churches in the city and probably the state and maybe the country. And we're blessed to have you here, Pastor Mike. Thank you. And what we'd like you to do is, if you wouldn't mind standing and remain standing, Care Pastor Mike will give us the prayer, and then we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Let's pray. Gracious God, you alone are worthy of our praise. We thank you for the very breath that we breathe. May we never take it for granted. For some reason today we're alive. Show us the purpose you have for our lives. Thanks again, Lord. Now I want to ask for your guidance tonight. May these council men and women see things with your eyes. God, these are important matters here, and we want to make sure we hear your voice and get your input on these proceedings. Protect these council members and give them wisdom. Be here tonight, God, and direct us. Thanks again for loving us and leading us. We give you the honor tonight, and thank you for allowing me to serve them tonight and open up by talking with you. You're amazing, God. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, David. Well, welcome, everybody. It's so good to have you here tonight, especially on a snowy night like this. We do have a number of things that we'd like to present tonight, but I'm going to start with Jason Dennison. Jason, would you mind coming forward, introducing yourself, and I know you've got some good news to share with the city.
Certainly do.
Sure. That's great. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members, Mayor. I'm Jason Dennison, President of Downtown Sioux Falls. DTSF is a nonprofit organization dedicated to continually upgrading and enhancing the vitality of downtown. During the recent International Downtown Association Annual Conference, the City of Sioux Falls was recognized with the Public Space Merit Award for the work and initiatives related to the Downtown River Greenway project. This award recognizes the capital improvements that enhance the urban design, physical function, or economic viability of the downtown and community. The city invested roughly $9 million to this project, which to date has resulted in more than $90 million of private sector development. What an incredible return of investment for our community. The success of this project cannot only be measured monetarily, as it has also had a significant impact on the quality of life for our community. Excuse me. The Downtown River Greenway project has reclaimed our riverfront and transformed a once neglected community asset into a vibrant destination. With a diverse schedule of events and programs that are designed to educate and entertain, we have witnessed residents and visitors of all ages, races, and socioeconomic backgrounds coming together to share in a unique experience on the downtown riverfront. We are grateful for your investment and are proud to present this award to you. So, on behalf of the Downtown Sioux Falls Board of Directors, thank you so very much for your investment in the downtown core. Thank you.
Well, Jason, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate that. We also have some other awards that we'd like to present tonight. Going to start with the V.L. Crusenberry Award. It was established in memory of former Mayor Crusenberry, and it recognizes and honors annually a non-management employee of Sioux Falls City Government who demonstrates exceptional performance, judgment, productivity, loyalty, professional pride, and other noteworthy accomplishments in relation to city government. And folks, this is a big deal because we have over 1,100 1,100 city employees that work for you, that work in the spirit of public service. And basically, we're going to recognize 2 of those 1,100 plus city employees tonight. So this is a really, really special deal. For the Cruisenberry Award, the nominees are Angela Peterson, who's a patient support technician with our health department, David Osterquist, who's a police sergeant with the Sioux Falls Police Department, Betsy Odden, who's a document control specialist with our Public Works Department in our engineering division, James Lang, the lead maintenance mechanic of our Public Works Department in our Water Reclamation division, Darren Cox, who's a firefighter with the Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, Terry Adams, the engineering technician with our Public Works Department in our engineering division, and Brent Rosenbrook, who's a lead sewer collection technician with our Public Works Department in our Water Reclamation division. The winner, and if I could have you give her a round of applause, and then I'll tell you about her. The winner of the 2013 Cruisenberry Award winner is Betsy Odden. Betsy. Sioux Falls, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Betsy. Betsy is a reliable and enthusiastically dedicated employee who is always eager to take on any additional tasks that are presented. She's a great asset to this city and, yes, to the engineering division. In 2011, Betsy played a key role in the successful adoption of the Sire software system. She worked closely with planning and building services during this process and helped bring development customers on board in the effective use of the software. Also, her dedication and willingness to take on extreme challenges also led her to the assignment as the department's test lead for the city's new land management software system called EnerGov. Betsy is a tremendous source of energy in leading the EnerGov adoption efforts, and the department has received compliments from EnerGov representatives regarding her leadership and, yes, her effectiveness. Betsy truly demonstrates excellence in performance and judgment. She carries a high level of productivity. She is indeed loyal, and she takes professional pride in all of her assigned work. Her commitment exemplifies the values espoused in the VL Cruisenberry Award. Betsy, thank you on behalf of 158,800 people. We are blessed by your service. Thank you so much, and I get to give you an award and a check. So here we go. The next award is the Jeannie Fullenkamp Management Excellence Award. This one goes to a manager in city government, and it was established in the memory of a former human resources manager, Jeannie Fullenkamp. Recognizes and honors annually a high performer and leader in the mid-management employee group whose performance drives change, builds commitment, maximizes talent, and focuses on excellence in customer service. The nominees this year, and there were 7, and I'll tell you, this was unbelievably hard to choose amongst. But the nominees are Troy Lubers, who's a police lieutenant with our Sioux Falls Police Department, Blaine Larson, who's also a police lieutenant with our Sioux Falls Police Department, Lance Weatherly, who's a civil engineer in our Public Works Department in our engineering division, Dwayne Stahl, a forestry supervisor with our Parks and Recreation Department, Rick Pudwell, Public Health Laboratory Manager of our Health Department, Sam Trebilcock, Transportation Planner with our Planning and Building Services Department, and Travis Tom, who's a Battalion Chief with the Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. I am so incredibly pleased to announce that this year's Fullenkamp Management Excellence Award winner is Sam Trebilcock. Sam? All right, Sioux Falls, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sam. Sam is a great city employee who continues to lead the planning profession both locally and throughout our great state. After 4 years and at over 60 meetings and an incredible amount of facilitation and thought-provoking discussion, Sam wrote and updated, and I can't believe this, but he did it. He wrote and updated a 260-page zoning ordinance. This type of document would typically be outsourced to a private firm, and we would spend a ton of money doing it. But with Sam's passion, organizational skills, and commitment to serving the people of this town, the department was able to handle the project in-house because of this man. During this past year, Sam also worked on transit fare analysis, space needs study, and a paratransit analysis that is still underway. The educational opportunities continue for our community to better understand public transportation, and Sam is a wonderful spokesperson. Also, for the second time in 4 years, the city of Sioux Falls has been recognized nationally as a bronze bicycle-friendly community by the League of American Bicyclists. Through Sam's diligence and advocacy, the city of Sioux Falls is a more bicycle and pedestrian-friendly city. Sam, congratulations. Thanks for all you do. Got an award for you, and yes, a check. Nice job. Then in the city of Sioux Falls, we also recognize an employee of the year for safety. And as we talk about at city council meetings and as your mayor, the number one factor of a quality of life for a citizen in this town is, do you feel safe? And so in our town, we actually take the time and we recognize someone who takes safety to a new level. The Employee of the Year Award for Safety recognizes and honors annually an employee who's made a significant and measurable contribution towards achieving the city's safety objectives. Employees nominated were chosen by their supervisor for their ability to motivate coworkers, contribute to a heightened safety awareness, and ultimately a safer working environment. The award recipient receives a plaque presented to them by the mayor, and yes, will receive a cash award as well. The 2013 nominees are Fire Apparatus Operator Andrew Byer of the Sioux Falls Fire and Rescue, Police Sergeant John Dupre, Sioux Falls Police Department, Engineering Technician Scott Heinrichs of our Public Works and Engineering team, Fire Captains Bob Vosberg, Brian Christensen, and Mile Koopman from our Sioux Falls Fire and Rescue team, and Public Health Manager Sandy France of our Health Department. We want to recognize and certainly thank all those nominees. We truly value their contributions and their dedication to make this city a safer place. This year's recipient of the City of Sioux Falls Safety Award is Sandy France. Sandy? All right, Sioux Falls. Sandy is a longtime advisor and consultant to the city risk management team, providing expertise on a myriad of occupational safety and health initiatives designed to protect our 1,100 city employees. Sandy's an active member of the Human Services Building Safety Committee, whose charge is to identify and address safety issues facing staff and the public users of the Falls Community Health Center. Sandy's most recent work includes a threat assessment and remedial action plan for the center. In addition, Sandy worked on a statewide effort to increase immunization rates among children, leading a coalition from Falls Community Health, the Sioux Falls School District, and the State Immunization Coalition to successfully deliver hundreds of needed vaccines to school children. Sandy's a key member of the city's emergency management team, and I can attest to that. When we had our ice storm, Sioux Falls, this person was there from the beginning, all hours of the day, all hours of the night, helping us keep Sioux Falls safe. No one died. We had no injuries, and this is a reason why, along with a bunch of others. But Sandy, thank you. And she actively prepares and responded to local and state disasters. She is an incident command instructor, serves as a public information officer, and is one of a select group called upon to respond to state disasters by the request of the Governor's Office of Emergency Management. As we said, she was a key member in Operation Timber Strike and was deployed to serve as a state resource for the annual Sturgis Rally. and the recent snowstorm events, of course, in western South Dakota. She's an expert leader. She promotes, develops, and implements safety solutions for her department by also contributing at a broader state level. Sioux Falls, let's congratulate Sandy, friends. Well, thank you very much. Council, we're now going to move on to the consent agenda. Any changes, motions? Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I'd like to pull one item from the consent agenda dealing with the Washington Pavilion and the Cinedome roof replacement at $9,000.
Okay. Councilor Staggers is asked to move one of the consent agenda items on to a later time, and it involves the Washington Pavilion roof. Very good. Any other changes? Councilor?
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 8-0. We'll now move to our regular agenda. Council, any changes?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our regular agenda, and it has been seconded. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 8-0. I'd like to welcome you all to our meeting tonight. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council. Now, there are some items that are coming up later on that you may want to talk to the council on, but if there's anything else going on in town that you want to engage the council about, this is your opportunity. We just ask you to come forward and state your name and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anybody be interested in that? Very good, very good. Thank you. We're now going to move on to that consent agenda item that Councilor Staggers wanted to discuss involving the Washington Pavilion. Councilor Staggers.
Yes, the major reason I pulled this is because, you know, when you think about it, the city of Sioux Falls has a lot of expertise within its ranks. And of course, we also have all the rules and regulations and ordinances dealing with buildings, which includes roofs. So I guess my question here is, when we talk about outsourcing this to Architecture Incorporated, $9,000 dealing with engineering services, why don't we just use our own people that we have within the city itself, save $9,000?
Council, if there's no further discussion, should we vote? Yes.
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote.
There is
Please. Oh, yes, I'm
discussion,
sorry.
Mayor.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Do you have anybody here to speak on this, as far as from the pavilion or anything? I guess there's been a question asked about these services, and we have nobody here to give us a reply. And we're just stepping right over this.
Let me also explain this maybe a little bit too. I only noticed this right after the informational meeting, so I suspect that probably nobody was notified. But I was hoping that there would be somebody here from Public Works who would be able to say, you know, well, we don't really have that expertise, or we do have that expertise, but
Called on this
Chad.
item on Friday.
Chad, would
actually.
you want to discuss Councilor Staggers?
I can. Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division of Public Works. We do not have anybody on staff that is an expert in roofing. We routinely are hiring consultants to fix roofs at our other facilities, our wastewater plants, our water plants. We just don't have anybody with that type of specialty on staff, and we always consult those services out.
If I could just ask another quick question here, Chad. We already have a roof on, so what do we need all kinds of special engineering here to replace it and put another roof on?
I don't know anything about the roof that's on there, but since it is the Cinedome, I'm going to assume it's nothing typical or something you'd see every day. And so I believe it's a specialty item that needs a consultant that deals with those types of roofs.
Councilor Mbach.
I just would remind council that we did get an email from Larry Toll because he had heard that question previously. Larry's response was that the roof is leaking at this point and causing damage to the interior of the building that belongs to us, that to the city, and that the roof had a 10-year lifespan and it's on its 14th year at this point, and that it needs to be replaced. Otherwise, we're continuing to damage the building that the city owns. I would urge approval of this.
Councilor Rolfing.
First of all, you urge approval or not?
Approval of the contract, the $9,000
right.
contract for engineering.
Not
yes.
of the amendment, or the motion?
No.
And
The motion is to approve.
Yeah.
The motion is to approve.
Okay.
Please vote yes.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. This also, I believe, I received that this afternoon. That same email, I believe it was directed right at you, Councilor Sagers, to answer your question.
Well, no, I actually replied to everybody from the email that we got from Larry Toll. And I just asked for, at that time, this is 9,000 we're talking about now, and I was wondering if they had any early estimates for replacement of the roof.
But he explained why the, okay.
Yeah,
problem.
and because, when you talk about a roof having to be replaced at 14 years, it should be a little bit longer period of time than just 14 years. And that's another issue, too. Why 14 years? Maybe not 20 years. That's, I think, a normal lifetime for a roof.
Councilor Henneman.
I think what we're looking at here is that there was a problem that was identified, and we did send it to the proper to the engineer's office for it to be resolved on a city facility. And they did follow a process and a procedure here, and I must apologize to Councilor Staggers. I did receive a letter here from Architectural Incorporated, dated November 4th, to the city for a proposal for their services. And on here, they're very specific as far as what they spell out as per our city guidelines that we have. A number of hours were going to be used. They are the experts in this, from design to following through to make sure that the contractor that does everything is doing it properly. The total estimated number of hours on the project is 90 to 100 hours will be spent on this project, and their proposal was for, I believe it was right at the fixed fee of around $9,000. So I think the document itself is good. I apologize. It was pulled at a late notice and it wasn't available. I will hand this on to you, Councilor Staggers, so you can review it, okay? But I also encourage that this is following an accepted practice of what we've done in the past, and the professionals are handling it. And I think we should feel very good about that.
Very good discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes?
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Item number 5.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving a Falls Park Visitor Information Center lease agreement.
Welcome, David.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Dave Fisher, Parks and Recreation. KYLO has been leasing space on the Falls Park Visitor Information Tower since 2003 for the purpose of mounting a Skycam there and then to broadcast images on their newscasts. Approval of this lease will allow them to do that same thing for another 5 years. They do pay the city $150 to offset the cost of electricity associated with operation of the Skycam. And the Parks and Recreation Board also recommended and voted unanimously to approve the lease at their meeting on Tuesday, November 19th.
David, thank you. This is a second reading, folks. You actually have the opportunity to engage the council if you're interested. Would anybody be interested? Council?
Move approval, Rolfing?
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item. Councilor Aguilar seconded it. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes?
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 6.
A resolution approving the special assessment role for construction of grading, gravel, curb and gutter, sidewalk and asphalt surfacing on West 85th Street from South Louise Avenue to South Minnesota Avenue.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division of Public Works. Due to some recent issues regarding this item, I am requesting a deferral until January 14th.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor
I
Aguilar.
move that we defer item number 6 to January 14th.
Second.
Thank you. Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to defer this item to January 14th, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 7.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, correcting the legal description on resolution number 69-13, a resolution vacating the public right-of-way on East 41st Street from South Cleveland Avenue to BNSF Railroad Row and South Cleveland Avenue from BNSF Railroad Row to East 41st Street.
In September of this year, you vacated this right-of-way. This right-of-way is just east of or north of 41st Street and west of Southeastern Avenue. When the resolution was filed with the Minnehaha County, it was determined that there was a inaccurate section number listed in the legal description. It was listed as section 26, and it should have been listed as section 27. So tonight's action will correct that legal description and allow it to be filed correctly.
Thanks, Chad. I do have to ask, would anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve of this item, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. No discussion or roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 8.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards. And
Bills, please. Thank you.
yes, sir. We have Susie Blake for Falls Community Health Center Board, Linda Karnoff for Falls Community Health Center Board, Jason Snyder, Infrastructure Review Advisory Board, and Kurt Johnson, Planning Commission.
Very good. Thank you. Council, any discussion on these items?
Move approval, Karski.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve item 8, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 9.
Agreement with the Ice Sports Association and the City of Sioux Falls regarding the indoor ice facility to be located at the Sanford Sports Facility and known as the Shields Iceplex.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Items 9 and 10 on your agenda are agreements related to the constructing of new indoor facilities at the Sanford Sports Complex. They're essentially mirror images of each other, with the exception of the names of the organizations, the dollar amount the city is proposing to provide, and the list of assets that would be acquired with the city's contributions towards those facilities. In light of that, we'd like to provide you with a short presentation that will allow us to reflect on where we've been at with the efforts to build indoor ice and indoor tennis facilities in Sioux Falls. And then we'd also like to be able to summarize for you how we feel these agreements protect the city's investment, and we think these are good investments for the city to make. From a historical perspective, as we thought back, we believe we've been talking about building new ice and tennis facilities in Sioux Falls for over 10 years. There have been multiple attempts to develop a strategy for building new facilities that have been made in that time frame. And at one point, both of those projects for a new indoor tennis center and a new indoor ice facility were actually in the city CIP program, only to be removed later. And then only recently, due to the formation of the Ice Sports Association and the Community Indoor Tennis Center Association, have we been able to get where we're at today. So the next question is, what's allowed us, what's different now than it was several years ago? We really believe that ISA and CIT's leadership recognized that they really had to take action in order to get these projects to happen and meet the needs of the community.
with the real mission of really focusing on constructing facilities. Obviously, one of the critical pieces to that was your support as a mayor and as a city council to provide money through the capital improvement program to assist in making that project jumpstart. And also, I think it really helped for the Ice Sports Association and the Community Indoor Tennis Center representatives to be able to go out and raise money because they knew the city was behind the project. The Parks and Recreation Board at their recent meeting approved both of these agreements unanimously and have been behind the project from the beginning. Sanford Health obviously has provided a ton of support through their long-term land leases for $1. Individual citizens have provided thousands of dollars in donations, and they've just been very supportive as well. And then the business community has been behind this project as well. Both of them, both the Ice Sports Association and CITC, had chamber-approved fund drives, and both of them were very successful in meeting their goals in those fund drives. So I really believe the CITC organization, along with ISAs, along with broad-based community support, is what's different about this time around. So what's in it for our community? Healthier kids and families, we believe, access to recreation facilities that don't exist now, or in the case of the Ice and Rec Center, are not meeting the need, especially in the wintertime. You know, I think we do a pretty good job of providing activities 6 to 8 months out of the year, but those other months of the year, we don't have as many facilities to try to keep our kids and families active and healthy. Quality of life is a big thing. I think we'd all agree that it's these new facilities will provide a great, make Sioux Falls a better place to live, work, and play. And economic development, I think, is a big piece of it as well. These facilities will bring more people to Sioux Falls to shop, to dine, to experience Sioux Falls. And in a large way, I believe we're missing out on the opportunities that facilities like this would provide. Many of our families are going to Lincoln and Omaha and Minneapolis and Rapid City to participate in their respective sports and activities. And it sure be nice for us to be able to have these facilities and bring them to Sioux Falls. One of the other things I wanted to share with you is our portion of the contributions, both with the Shields Iceplex and the Tennis Center. With updated estimates in the cost of construction have risen since we originally began talking about this. Our share of the total project for the Shields Iceplex is about 18%. That's based on $8.5 million project and our $1.5 million contribution to the total project cost. In the case of the Community Indoor Tennis Center, our contribution is about 12% of the total. That's based on an updated cost estimate of $4 million and our contribution of $500,000. So why do we believe this is a good investment for the city? Equipment purchased with city funds would remain assets of the city. They will always be ours until they no longer have a useful life. The Ice Sports Association and CITC are both responsible for maintaining our equipment at no cost to the city. Access to any and all records pertaining to our interest in the agreement, namely equipment and public use records, will be available to us. The city's not responsible for any ongoing operational expenses or capital costs. Public access and use of the facility is guaranteed, and we will have a non-voting member on their respective governing boards. As we've talked about this over the last few weeks, questions have been raised about annual reports to the City Council, public access and use, and I believe late last week you received a communication from both Ice Sports and from the Tennis Center folks about those very issues and how they plan to address those. So with that, we certainly want to entertain any additional questions on the Ice Sports Association agreement specifically. And with us today is Joe Zuger. Joe's the president of the Ice Sports Association, and he's here along with other city staff to answer your questions.
Very good. Council, before we proceed, I just want to remind you we're on item number 9, which is talking about the Ice Sports Association and the City of Sioux Falls agreement. So if you wouldn't mind, if we'd keep it tailored to that, I'd appreciate that. Councilor Staggers.
Yes. Don, We now have an ice rink already, the city does. Okay, once this is built, what's going to happen to our current ice rink?
We haven't determined what the use of that facility would be going forward, but we certainly plan to operate it until such time the new one opens, with that being the Shields Iceplex.
But there's no plan to continue that as an ice rink once this is completed, is there?
That's not been determined at this point, but certainly the new ice facility going in, it certainly makes some sense that we would have a discussion about that and what to do with that going forward.
Because right now we subsidize it, don't we?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Entenmann.
Say, Don, could you enlighten us a little bit as far as I know the Parks Department as well as the Park Board. I attended a couple of different presentations, I believe, to the Park Board on this ice facility. But could you tell us a little bit about how long that you've been involved in these discussions and the negotiations? And can you also enlighten us what other city departments, I believe legal was, but were there any other departments involved in these discussions too?
Yeah, I would say that in earnest, as far as negotiating this actual agreement that's before you today, it's been at least 6 months that I know that we've been talking about it. And as far as other departments, risk management has been involved from an insurance standpoint, liability standpoint. Finance has been involved in a variety of different asset tracking and financial reporting questions that have come up. Legal has been involved, obviously, in drafting of the agreement. And so, yeah, there have been several other departments that have been involved.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Jameson.
Mayor, I think we'd do ourselves some favor if we allowed the public a little access to give testimony. I see supporters for each of the groups here, and
very good
for item 9 and 10. So if it's okay with the rest of the council, I think we just allow anybody who is willing to and wanting to give some time.
Sure.
I've got more nodding of heads yes than I've got of no. So, Councilor Jameson, thank you for that. If there is anybody who wants to talk specifically about the Ice Sports Association and the agreement with the City of Sioux Falls, you're welcome to come forward. We just ask you just to introduce yourself and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anybody want to do that?
Tim Stanga. This is the way it should be. The city should not own any more buildings. We shouldn't run any more buildings. We shouldn't subsidize anything to make it run. We should partnership with people. Same thing with the swimming. If this sets a precedence for this, hopefully the swimming people realize that we'll partner with you, but we're not going to build a facility for you because we don't want to be involved in it. We don't need another building to take care of. My question is, we got a lot of parks out here that have ice skating rinks that are not being used. We have spent thousands of dollars where the hockey rink, the hockey people needed a rink. So we went and bought enclosures to enclose them rinks so they could have a place to play. You go buy them any time of the winter. They are not being used. So my question is, do we sell them off to a small community that their kids are willing to go outside and play and use the facility? Or do we just set them up so they can rust out, so we can maintain them for the rest of our lives and nobody uses them? You know, when I grew up, and I would say a lot of you guys are in my era, we played outside. We played outside until our feet fell off and our hands fell off. Now we can't even get a kid to go out and skate on a skating rink because it's too cold. What do we do with those facilities? What do we do with the warming houses? What do we do with this? Do we still maintain them? Or do we decide, well, nobody uses them, so
why don't we decide to maybe get rid of them?
Thank you, Mr. Stenga. Thank you. Welcome. No, please come forward. Welcome.
My name is Michelle Carlson, and I have grown up with Sioux Falls figure skating and Sioux Falls youth hockey, and my daughter is now part of the Sioux Falls Figure Skating Club. I was part of the original group of people who skated outside at Drake Springs, and Drake Springs had its place. It was a great place for my family to go and develop skating and have a good time, but we wanted to do more with that. We wanted to be competitive. We wanted to, my brother played hockey and I figure skated, and we were thrilled when the Minnehaha ice facility went up. We were indoors. However, it didn't meet the needs of our youth because we wanted to compete. And I unfortunately never got to do that, but my passion for skating didn't keep me from skating. I stayed with it, and now my daughter is skating, and I am getting to see her compete and create friendships. And it's hard to explain, but I see it with hockey, I see it with skating. I see our youth standing behind each other and staying out of trouble and having something that they're really proud of. And to see our girls go to Laverne and Minneapolis and New Ulm and really do a great job and make our city proud and make their parents proud that they're involved in something that they can do for the rest of their lives. I guess to answer his question, outdoor parks are great. My kids love to go do that. We grew up skating outdoor. It's a great place to go have fun and enjoy winter, but it's not a place to develop and harness your skills and take them anywhere, because the ice is bumpy, it's soft in one spot, it's hard in the other, it's freezing cold. The facility just doesn't give you what you need to grow and develop in your sport. And I did not expect to come up here and speak, but I feel kind of unprepared, but I want you to know that I have been part of this journey for over 30 years, and we are at a standstill, and it is embarrassing to take my family out of town to Brookings and Laverne and New Ulm and Minneapolis and have them say, wow, this is an amazing rink, why doesn't our city have it? And I love South Dakota and I love Sioux Falls, but I want my children to be proud of where they came from and to be proud of their city, and I think this is just another thing that can make them proud of that. And these kids, they're really putting in their heart and soul, and it's hard to watch them have to end. It has to end at like 13 or 14 because they can't go any farther. We can't do anything else with it, and they put a lot of work into it, and it would be sad to see it not progress. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Well, okay, welcome. Folks, anybody else wants to speak on this item, just be ready if you don't mind. Welcome, sir. Good to have you here.
Hi, Mike Ford, Sioux Falls Curling. Once again, I wasn't expected to speak either.
Good job.
We've been loving the outside facilities. We've been trying for a couple of years. We've been curling outside, but the ice conditions are so rough. 2 years ago, we had 14 days of outside ice. It's just not enough to keep us going all year. We love to get indoors. We can actually get nice ice, not bumpy. We can prepare it with all the curling needs. And I know curling's new to Sioux Falls. A lot of people haven't tried it. We've been getting a lot of interest, a lot of people wanting to come out and try, asking us where can they curl. And we're like, we might be at Spellerberg today. We might be here. It just depends on the winds, if there's ice. So we just love to get some indoor ice so we can get more people involved in winter activities and stay warm and get their friends inside and actually have some fun in the winter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Hi, Debbie Geddes, and I am the president of the Sioux Falls Figure Skating Club, and I just would like to say that we really need this indoor ice facility. We need summer ice to become a competitive team, to take our team further. And I really would like your support, and I would appreciate that you see the value of keeping kids and youth involved and families and having it available, having the facility available and a place that draws community members will only enhance all ice sports because they will be excited about going to the facility, a new place and a great place. And also to back up what Michelle was saying, we go to all these communities much smaller than Sioux Falls and see beautiful facilities, and I hope we can have that here. Thanks.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, my name is Juliana Dickford. I'm part of the Sioux Falls Curling. I'm kind of new to Sioux Falls in the last 3 years or so, and I've noticed in the wintertime, like the outdoor ice rinks are amazing, but and it's wonderful to have them, but there seems to be so little time to have them during the winter. I don't know if these warm winters are normal for Sioux Falls, but when there is ice time, there seems to be a huge competition between, you know, the curlers, the hockey players, and the figure skaters. And so even when we can get indoor ice time at the hockey rink, there's still quite a bit of competition between the three groups. So it'd be so wonderful to have some indoor solid time for curlers. And I think even with that smaller arena that was mentioned earlier, you know, what could possibly be happening with that, I can definitely foresee it continuing on because of, you know, the huge interest and competition with the winter groups. So that's just my comment for that.
Juliana, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Council, I'll leave it in your hands. Councilor Jameson.
Move for approval.
Second, Karski.
Got a motion to approve the item number 9, seconded by Councilor Karski. Councilor Staggers.
Yeah, I did have a question, and that's in regard to the agreement itself. We know when the agreement starts, but when the agreement between the city and the Ice Hockey Association ends is less clear. It ends when the equipment, the city equipment is, I guess you could say, done with and no longer usable. So my question is, can we get kind of a rough estimate when this equipment will eventually wear out and then this agreement will come to an end?
Joe Zuger with the Ice Sports Association. I think Councilor Staggers, it's a good question, but it's difficult to get very definitive. One of the things that you'll notice about the asset use agreement is that there's a proposed list of assets on there, and that list of assets, they vary in the type and nature. They have some things in common with them in that they're generally removable assets, and they're generally the type of assets that if you went to any of the other myriad of community-owned rinks in the upper Midwest, you'd see them. So they're not unusual items. Things like dasher boards, plexiglass, ice resurfacers, ice edgers, netting, scoreboards, sound systems, et cetera. So I think the reason it's difficult to say when that would come to an end is you might have some items in there that have a useful life of 10 to 15 years. You might have other items in there that have a useful life of 20 to 40 years. So to the extent the agreement says once the last individual item on the asset list is retired and its useful life has expired, therefore the agreement goes away. I think it'd be impossible for anyone to really predict that. And in fact, my suspicion is we've always looked at this facility as probably a 50-year solution, just generally speaking, at least the first 3-sheet component of it. And you know, I don't think it's inconceivable that some of these things could last half of that time or longer. So it's very difficult to say, and we haven't decided exactly what that mix of assets is going to be. So I think it's a fair question, but situationally a really difficult one to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. It helps. This could be a very long-term agreement is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be decades. I think several of these assets would be, an average rink manager would tell you that some of these assets have a useful life of decades.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor, was it Anderson Jr.?
Joel, might as well stay up there.
Happy to.
My first question is on your chamber fundraising. How did you do on that? And as far as that fundraising goes, how does that tie with our donation?
So kind of a two-part question. The chamber drive itself, we had a goal of 1.54 million. I don't know what the final number, 1.56 I think is about where we came in, so we exceeded it by a small amount. So that's sort of the quantifiable side of that, Councilor Anderson. The second question was, how is that chamber fundraising component tied to the city's procurement through the capital improvement program of these assets that we put this use agreement in to control? I don't think there really is a connection. I would tell you what Don mentioned earlier was that there's been a term thrown around in previous discussions that this capital improvement money, even before it was officially in the capital improvement program, it's been referred to as seed money. I think the connection between our success in the chamber campaign and the city's official commitment of dollars through the CIP program, we've used this term, I think it represented breed money. In other words, you guys making the commitment and going through the process with you, it really allowed us to breed success, and it allowed to, as Don indicated, speak to the community that there was multiple stakeholders involved in this. And so it was symbolic in the early days, and as we continued to gain traction and have success in our individual fundraising phases, the fact that that piece was presented early, it was a piece of the puzzle that we were going to snap in and make the picture whole. It served us well from the beginning, and I guess from my perspective, it's sort of time to see if that commitment was conceptual and temporary or permanent and lasting.
I have a question for Don Kearney also. Thank you, Joel. Don, once we make this donation for whatever selected equipment, why is it so important that the city continues ownership of that equipment until it's done?
I'll give you a general answer, and maybe Tracy and/or Karen can give you a more technical one. But because of it's being funded through sales tax, it has the provisions around the sales tax use of those dollars has to be used for capital improvements. And there's the definition of capital improvements. You have to retain the asset associated with that capital improvement, and it's really just a matter of the source of funding. If it was general fund, then I think you have a lot more flexibility with what you can do, but because of it is coming out of the sales tax fund, there are restrictions on how that can be used.
Okay, so as I was reading in the contract, we have absolutely no obligation once we donate that equipment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Don.
Thank you.
Well, Council, we do have a motion. It has been seconded.
You go ahead.
Councilor Rolfing? Councilor Rolfing?
Yes, I'll take that. Thank you. I would like to offer an amendment to this, to agenda item 9. Motion would read, the motion to amend section 12 by adding the following sentence after this sentence that ends Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and before the sentence that begins this paragraph. The amendment is, ISA shall report to the City Council a general operations overview of the organization on an annual basis. To give you a little background on that.
Councilor, is there a second?
Second, Anderson.
There has been a motion to amend this item number 9. It is made by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. The amendment reads, ISA shall report to the City Council a general operations overview of the organization on an annual basis. Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you. As many of you know, I've been a proponent of some sort of reporting back to the council on the general operation of the of not only this but the tennis situation. This is a lot of money we're donating, as Mr. Anderson, Councilor Anderson said, to these organizations, and I have always felt that when we give away that much money, whether it be technically giving it to or buying the equipment and keeping it, or just giving it to the general fund, there's really no difference when you get right down to it. They're using the money. They're doing a good job with it. I am going to vote for this, folks. I'm going to vote for this. I think it's important to have this. I think it's a great thing. My boys played played hockey and loved it, and so did my daughter. And so I think it's very important to do it. But I also think we have a responsibility as counselors to safeguard the money that's going into this. And that's why I have offered the amendment. The other thing that I want to point out is that on August 15th, 2012, in a working session that we had, some notes there indicated that this type of paragraph, shall I say, would be in the agreement by Mr. Fisher and Mr. Carney. Now, I understand that that may have changed, but those were some of the things that we had at that point, and so I went ahead with that, understanding that that would happen. Having someone report back to us with a general operation information one time a year doesn't seem to me like to be too much to ask with this type of a gift, this amount of a gift. We need to make sure the contributions the taxpayers of Sioux Falls have will be worth the investment well into the future. And I want to caution about starting if we do some more of these public-private partnerships, that we don't set a precedence the next time we give away this kind of money, that we've already set a precedence that we're not going to ask for any kind of reporting back, only specific things, because that's the way we had given them, is not a good answer, I don't think, in this situation. So I would appreciate your support of this amendment.
Councilor Jameson.
If I could, the couple of comments there. This is not a donation. We need to make that crystal clear. We are purchasing assets, and because of that purchase, we have certain rights and other obligations. It's not a giveaway, and it is not a gift. And what we're doing here is unprecedented in the fact that those guys raised so much money to build this on their own that we can contribute a small portion and allow them to operate it and still give the public access to the building. I mean, this is wonderful. This is a win-win deal. I think what's happening, though, Councilor Rolfing, is you're confusing the issue with the public when you're stating that if they're unable to maintain their business operation, that we have some authority to come in and close them down or take back our equipment. When we purchase these assets, we have certain rights and some things we don't. I understand that they're not overly concerned about these amendments, but I'm just concerned about fogging the issue. And I'll support it if the group wants to, just to move it along, because I think it will pass. The rest of us will support, but I'm concerned about confusing the issue.
Councilor Stangers.
Yes, I guess in taking a look at the agreement, one of the things that stands out in the agreement is that there's really a lot of government red tape involved in this. In fact, I think there's just simply too much government red tape. And so consequently, I think that Councilor Rolfing's amendment's just simply adding to it unnecessarily. So I'm not going to be supporting the amendment. But later on, after we have the vote, I'm going to offer an amendment in a very small way to get rid of some of the government red tape.
Thank you, Councilor Stangers. Councilor Ermock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't support these amendments either. I look earlier on in Section 12, and we've got, we have, well, in Section 7, we have a seat on the board for a facility that we don't own. And then in Section 12, we have the right to audit the books of a facility that we don't own. I think those are pretty strict regulations. I want to remind the council that it is one-time money, that the city is not managing this. We're not going to own this property. It's an awesome deal that we're getting here. There are no ongoing expenses for the city, and we're really doing something we talked about a couple weeks ago. We're leveraging a very small amount of tax dollars for a huge public benefit in terms of public use of both of these facilities, but in this case, the ice facility. And then to just speak to a comment from earlier, those outdoor ice rinks are used every minute that they're open. They're just not open very much. those outdoor ice rinks are popular, and I know that they will continue to be popular, but I'm so excited about this particular agreement the way that it is. I'd urge you to not amend it and to vote to support it as it is.
Councilor Elfing.
Thank you. Couple of things I just want to correct the way I understand them. First of all, if anyone thinks I'm not for this, please be aware that I am. I'm going to vote for the ice, the
Councilor Elfing, just stick with the amendment, please.
Yeah.
The amendment.
And the amendment, first of all, the audit, Councilor Erpenbach, is only on the equipment that we have purchased, not on anything else, and the ice time that we are supposedly giving up for that. So it's not a complete audit. I never asked for a complete audit at this point. And so that's one thing. And Councilor Jameson, while I know that is why we are buying, technically we are buying the equipment, it's no different when you get right down to it, is if we gave them the money and they purchased that equipment for us. The only reason we're doing it that way is to get around the CIP funds that we're using to make sure that we're giving it to them, so that we can give them that kind of money. If it came out of the general fund, we would just give it to them. And it happened to be in the budget that it was the CIP money. So while I know that we're kind of at odds with this one, I just wanted to clear those up so that you knew where I was coming from. Thanks.
Councilor Elfing, thank you very much. We do have an amendment. The amendment says ISA shall report to the City Council a general operations overview of the organization on an annual basis. We've had really good discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Intamin,
This is a vote on the
amendment.
On the amendment, no.
Erpenbach,
No.
Jameson,
No.
Karski,
No.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
No.
Aguilar,
No.
Anderson.
No.
That has failed 1-7. Councilor Staggers, did you have an amendment?
I have an amendment. I should first of all explain that the amendment that I gave to my fellow council members during the informational, I've modified this, and I have it to read, motion to amend the agreement by striking Section 7 only, Section 7. And Section 7 deals with the city having a board member, and that's the only thing that I'm striking. To me, that's the most egregious part of this government red tape. So.
Councilor Staggers, thank you. Is there a second? That fails for lack of a second, but thank you, Councilor Staggers. We now still have our main motion, and it has been made, it has been seconded. Is there any further discussion by the council? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Intamin,
Absolutely yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Second Intamin's absolutely yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is overwhelmingly passed 8-0. We're now going to move on to, thanks folks. We're now going to move on to item number 10. And council, I will be recusing myself from the consideration, discussion, and vote on item number 10. I'll now hand over the gavel to Council Chair Jim Intamin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Denise, please.
Item 10 is an agreement with the Community Indoor Tennis Center Incorporated and the City of Sioux Falls regarding the community indoor tennis facility to be located at the Sanford Sports Complex.
Director Kearney, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Again, same song, different tune maybe, or however that goes. But Matt Johnson is the chair, one of the board members of the Community Indoor Tennis Center, and he is here to answer questions as well about the indoor tennis facility agreement.
Are there any questions? I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here looking like expecting a statement. You have to apologize. I'm not used to this so much here. So, Councilor Staggers, please.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. Same kind of question I asked with the ice rink, and that's in regard to when is this agreement going to end? And it's going to end, of course, when the equipment deteriorates, but any insight as to how long this would be?
No. My name is Matt Johnson, board member of the Community Indoor Tennis Center. Thanks for your time. If I can I just repeat exactly what Mr. Zuger said? It's a very complex question to answer.
Very complex.
We do have a member from our facilities committee that might be able to give you some, and he's an architect. Keith, sorry to put you on the spot, but he might be able to answer questions regarding the building and the life of the building, if you would like.
Sure.
Keith Thompson, Co-Castle Architects, we're the architect. It's a very similar situation to the hockey facility. Mechanical, electrical systems, probably at least 15 years to 2025 for the mechanical. Lights will probably fail, less than 20 years, but things like nets, some of those court equipment, very likely decades to the life of the building. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions for the council this time?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Aguilar.
Thank you. Councilor Erpenbach.
Councilor Entman, just because of the precedent set by the mayor on the previous item, I didn't know if you would like to entertain public input.
I would like to entertain public input. Is that okay? I know it's a little inappropriate. We have a motion before us in a second. Sue?
We need to, point of order, sir.
Yes.
We would need to withdraw the motion and the second in order to take public input.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
Thank you very much. Good thing we have an attorney there in our ear, okay. With that being said, I will entertain any public input on this particular issue. And again, as the mayor stated earlier, we will restrict comments, please, to 5 minutes or less. Is there any public input on this? Please come forward and identify yourself for the council and for the public, please.
Hi, I'm Tom Clayton, and I'm a longtime tennis player, and I'm a contributor on the private side of this enterprise, and also a sponsor of this as for Clayton South Dakota Open. We've got a really thriving tennis community here in Sioux Falls and here in Brandon. A lot of kids are playing now. Good competition. I was fortunate enough when I grew up that I was able to play indoors in the off season when other kids couldn't at the Westward Ho, and that really helped. That helped me a lot. It helped me win some tournaments when I was younger. I just can't imagine what it's going to be like to have all the courts we're going to have now if they're built. It's just, this partnership is a phenomenal thing, starting with Denny Sanford and the city's pledge also, and the hard work done by the fundraisers here and the business also contributing. This is just, it is a wonderful win-win deal. And I can see it being used year-round even. I can envision adult tournaments in the winter, junior tournaments in the winter, college teams coming up and practicing, meets being played there, maybe a summit tournament of the college teams. It's just, and the fact that it's open to the public, that the youth can play when they're scheduled, it's a wonderful idea. It's been greatly executed, and I do urge approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else out in the audience that would like to make a statement? Welcome. Please identify yourself, please.
Thank you, Emmett Reistroffer. Thank you, members of the council. Just real quickly, I wanted to say that I played both tennis and hockey. I couldn't be more excited. And that as someone who, since high school, has been trying to organize a lacrosse program, I am very inspired, and I think these groups have shown very well how collaboration can work for a great partnership with the city. That's all.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening. I'm Mary Thompson. I'm involved with the tennis. I've been involved with the section and even national level of tennis, and I have to applaud you all for this partnership. It hasn't been done in our section, which is a pretty big area, and it has been recognized by our section that our city leaders have seen the value of doing that. So I applaud you. We do have a lot of outdoor courts, and they're used a lot, but as you know, we're lacking for indoor. We've had opportunity to host national tournaments, but had to decline because of facilities. So this is a whole new event center for tennis, if you will, and we're really excited about it. Our kids, as well as us old people, even in the summertime, we're learning that people don't always want to be out in the sun anymore, and South Dakota has a little bit of wind. So therefore, I think we're going to see a big use in the nicer months as well. So this center will be a big star in Sioux Falls, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Council?
Move to approve.
Second, Aguilar.
There's been a motion by Karski, a second by Aguilar. Any discussion? Councilor Rolfing?
Yes, to be consistent, I will offer an amendment, same as I did last time, and I won't go into detail on it, but I will be consistent. And that is, the amendment will read, CITC shall report to the City Council a general operations overview of the organization on an annual basis. Thank you.
There is a motion before us. Is there a second? No second. Motion fails. Okay, we'll have a vote. Is there any other further discussion? Excuse me, Councilor Steigers, I apologize.
Yeah,
please.
That's okay. You know, this has been a long, drawn-out project, both the ice and also now the tennis courts. We've been talking about it for a very, very long time. And in recent weeks, we've had a number of delays. We were going to deal with this, a few weeks ago, and now we're finally dealing with it right now. But it's important to keep in mind that normally what happens is that we get one point of view on something. And, one point of view, that's how we have to vote, is from what we hear. This one, though, I've gotten other points of view. And I think part of this has to do with this being drawn out for some period of time. I've been lobbied by the tennis people. I've been lobbied by, the Parks Department. But then also I've gotten some other points of view. This is very rare. Once again, we usually just have one point of view. But now I've gotten some other points of view about this issue. And the other point of view stressed the idea that the numbers that we've been receiving might be a little bit optimistic. And I'm very concerned that the numbers have been very optimistic as to the probable success of the facility. And because I'm very concerned that the numbers might have been too optimistic, I guess we have to be very cautious with city money, and so consequently I'm not going to be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Is there any other comments by the part of the council? There being none, call the vote, please.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 1 no. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all the citizens in the Sioux Falls for all their comments on this and on the hockey also. I'll call the mayor back to finish the meeting.
Or move to adjourn. Why aren't you just move to adjourn?
I guess I'm not going to do that. Okay. Is there anything else at this time?
Move to adjourn.
Oh, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.